Now, with many of the survivors saying they had notified several people before being taken seriously, does Michigan State have potential legal ramifications?
Definitely. Michigan State has been sued both in federal and state lawsuits over potential civil liability, basically for being negligent, that they hired this guy and they failed to monitor him adequately, that he was in a position of wrecking lives, right? This is a doctor. This is someone who used Michigan State facilities. This is someone who used the Michigan State status of being a professor there. And they had some obligation to realize what was going on. How could this go on for decades without any accountability? And as you mentioned, there were complaints. And one of the accusers has said that she complained and she was told, oh, no, this is just a medical procedure. I mean, that's really unacceptable. And it could be more than just unacceptable. It could be unlawful if, in fact, the university was negligent in how they monitored him and also in failing to report crimes. That's another aspect to the cases against the school. So the school could be potentially have to pay out many millions of dollars. And it wouldn't surprise me if this litigation ends in a settlement where the university has to be careful here, because if the litigation process plays out, evidence will be found, testimony will be taken. Individuals at the school, both currently at the school and previously at the school, could not only be in civil liability, they may end up in criminal trouble. So these are litigations that I think the university will be poised to try to settle.
Now, what's the difference between the criminal and the civil suits here? Could this land people behind bars?
It could. Now, the civil suits have a lower threshold. It's preponderance of evidence are more likely than not. Whereas the criminal, if they were criminally charged, there would have to be a specific statute that relates to a crime, such as failure to report, for instance. That can be a crime. In terms of their custodial responsibility of children, that could lead to a crime. There, though, there would have to be beyond a reasonable doubt of guilt. So the standard is much higher. But in Penn State, we saw 3 officials charged and ultimately convicted, although not on all of the charges, but on some of them. So there we're seeing an instance where individuals at an institution, because they didn't report a crime, ended up being convicted of crimes. Not that we're going to necessarily see that here. I don't want to predict that because we don't know all the facts, but this storyline could play out in that direction.
Now, President Lou Anna Simon resigned in the wake of this. Is she liable as the head of the institution if she didn't specifically know what was going on?
Yeah, potentially. She may have had an obligation to know what was going on. Even if she didn't know specifically, she may have had a legal duty to take steps to find out. And we'll find out if, in fact, she took reasonable steps in looking at how one of her employees was acting. I mean, he was a professor. This is someone who reports to a department chair, who reports to an academic dean, who reports to a provost, who reports to the president. There's a chain of command in a university. And the lawsuits against Michigan State will really illuminate how that chain of command worked at Michigan State and who ought to have known what was going on and who may have known and didn't take steps.